the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Mpanifo say ewiase yeyu ti na se wan kasem a eya na yeyu eyibone na Ghana Journalists Association any abrepa a enye asem kotoa because etame say violence attack atiatese e wo John Dramani Mahama pen so no ano edinye papa na according to Ghana Journalists Association since one ehia say one operate no aban bi aba ya attack journalists akwaso kra mako 12 for the whole year na ebia etimi esisa under 6 months of John Dramani Mahama senior GJA near Kasa right now no a journalist mako 12 and etimi assault within half of the year GJA president say and so any kra afen so ya assault one awie no Ghana Police Service into an amobia emfa ho especially the see ewo ablekuma of journalists assault wo nyina ya ni obi ahwe up to now no and I want to say one tena say emien kunkum journalists nyina emfiri o man Ghana mu ansa and I want ehun say ba bi o man no keka kono ano edinti me no ka say the one ama Ghana police 7 days says one amfa update madia one ebe declare one as enemy to the press as a Ghana Police Service say bibia and now there's a press ebe kwa akopie mu because I come here say just 6 months John Dramani Mahama sisu there attacks and we cry there media o na there ya attacking nipa personally there it is getting out of hand now there yanko tie Albert Kwabena Jumfo wabra na one holding one press conference.
A list of attacks against journalists including physical assault, arbitrary arrest, cyberbullying, and obstruction of reportage. We have counted 12 so far this year, which is very alarming and scary. In most of these cases, the perpetrators have either walked free or received minimal sanctions that do little to prevent reoccurrence. And colleagues, let me reiterate and let me say that the data available to us, the information and records available to us indicate that the average attack on journalists every year stands at 12. So if we have already recorded 12, even before the end of the 7th month, it is very, very scary and alarming, and it's very unfortunate. These attacks have taken place in parts of the country perpetrated by both civilians and uniformed security operatives. Journalists covering elections, crime scenes, protests, demolitions, and other public interest activities have been subjected to harassment, manhandling, and in some cases detention without legal basis. This environment of fear is a serious threat to democratic governance, and the failure to punish offenders sends a dangerous signal that violence against journalists is permissible in Ghana. The Ablekumanov attacks on journalists. Ladies and gentlemen, colleague media practitioners, the GJA finds it baffling that weeks after a senior police officer was captured on radio attacking a reporter with EIB Network, Mr. Emmanuel Banayene, during the Ablekumanov parliamentary election rerun. We are yet to hear of the concrete actions taken by the police administration on the perpetrator of the act. Because apart from issuing two statements saying the officer has been interdicted and another that the officer has been charged, we are here to evidently see that the said actions have equally been taken. Till today, the police has reluctantly failed to present the officer before court. This creates so much suspicion. This creates so much suspicion and also raise concerns as to whether the police truly charge this officer. It raises suspicion and so many concerns. A Joy News reporter of the multimedia group, Salome Nati, was also assaulted in Ablekumanov while she was diligently covering the parliamentary election rerun in the constituency. This was not only a personal assault, it was an attack on the Ghanaian public's right to know. Violence against a journalist during a democratic process fundamentally undermines the credibility of that process. It chills free expression, threatens transparency, and sets a dangerous precedent for future elections. We acknowledge the recent communication by the Ghana Police Service indicating that the officer involved has been charged. While this is a welcome step, the GJA insists that charging alone is not justice. Justice must be seen to be done through a swift, transparent, and fair prosecution that results in meaningful accountability. We urge the police to come out publicly on the identity of the two suspects they claim they have arrested and give detailed information of their arrest, as we have stated in the GJA request letter sent to them last week. And like I did mention, till today, the charged police officer has not been arraigned before court. And so let's ask ourselves, is the police being sincere and honest with us and the public? Okay. Now this is our demand. Demands to the police, to the Ghana Police Service. And the demand is tagged as time for action. Time for action. The GJA hereby demands from the Ghana Police Service as follows. 1. A detailed update on the status of investigations into all reported attacks against journalists across the country within the past 7 months. 2. A public report on the prosecution of the police officer involved in the Abikumanov incident, including timelines and court proceedings. 3. Clear disciplinary action and sanctions against officers or individuals who have assaulted journalists, whether in uniform or civilian attire. 4. Specific measures the police service is putting in place to prevent future attacks and to train officers on respecting press freedom and media rights. 5. The police should do the needful by writing or responding to our formal request. We have formally written to the police requesting a full investigation report on all assault cases, including but not limited to that of the Abekuma North elections rerun. And we need that to be done. We expect these demands to be met within 7 days from the date of this statement. And I want to reiterate, I want to take this again. We expect these demands to be met within 7 days from the date of this statement. Failure to do so will leave us with no option but to advise all media houses across the country and our members to boycott all police-related activities and declare them as enemies of press freedom. If the police fail to adhere to our directive, this is what we are going to do. We will boycott all police-related activities and we will declare them as enemies of press freedom in the country. Magdan warehouse demolition, intimidation through detention. The GJA is also deeply troubled by the attacks and unlawful detention by national security operatives of Joy News journalist Carlos Kaloni and his cameraman who were covering the recent demolition of the Magdan warehouse in Accra, owned by businessman Daniel Macaulay, popularly known as Magdan. Mr. Kaloni was at the scene on Wednesday, 30th July 2025, documenting the demolition exercise and the growing tensions between civilians and men in military uniform. In a blatant show of disregard for media rights, the journalist was obstructed, hit at the neck, arrested, harassed, and detained while attempting to gather facts and report to the public. This arrest and detention were not based on any justifiable legal grounds. Rather, they appear to be attempts to suppress information and silence scrutiny of the demolition exercise. This is censorship through force and must be condemned in the strongest terms. We demand that the Ghana Police Service and the National Security provides a public explanation for the arrest and detention of Carlos Kaloni and his cameraman. Additionally, we request the immediate release of any findings or internal reviews conducted regarding the uniform officers involved. So any findings or internal reviews conducted regarding the uniform officers involved. The media must be allowed to report freely on public matters without fear of reprisal. We are public interest media, and we must stress that. And so we should be allowed to go about our duty without fear of favor and without fear of reprisal. Acknowledging the presidency statement, a step forward but not enough. The GJA takes note of the statement issued by the Office of the President, the Republic of Ghana, and signed by the Minister in charge of Government Communications, the spokesperson, Honorable Felix Kwachofusu, condemning the spate of attacks against journalists. The GJA appreciates the President's public stance on this critical matter and acknowledge the recognition of journalists as key actors in Ghana's democratic space. However, while we acknowledge the statement as an important symbolic gesture, we urge the presidency and the government as a whole to march west with decisive action. Ghana's international standard as a beacon of democracy may be at risk if those who attack journalists with impunity continue to go unpunished or are shielded by institutional silence. We call on the government to direct all security agencies to act promptly on reported cases of abuse against media personnel. Introduce clear policy measures and training protocols to ensure state actors understand and uphold media rights. And last, publicly support prosecutions and disciplinary actions against those who violate press freedom regardless of rank or political affiliation. Legal and constitutional context. Journalism is not a crime. Indeed, it is not a crime to be a journalist or to practice journalism. It is vital that we always remind ourselves that Article 162 of the 1992 Constitution guarantees the freedom and independence of the media. Also, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and international conventions to which Ghana is a signatory, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all underscore the right of journalists to work without interference. When a journalist is attacked, arrested, intimidated, or harassed, it is not merely a personal harm, it is a constitutional breach. It is an assault on the public's right to know. It is an erosion of democracy. To this end, protecting journalists is not an act of kindness, it is a constitutional obligation of the state and its security agencies. The GJA's position going forward: zero tolerance for impunity. Zero tolerance for impunity. The GJA will not be silent or tolerant in the face of systematic violence against journalists. The association will no longer accept symbolic condemnations without action. We will no longer allow the work of journalists to be criminalized under the pretext of national security or public order. If the Ghana Police Service fails to act decisively within the next 7 days, as already stated, the GJA, in consultation with key stakeholders, will announce a nationwide media blackout of all police activities. We will instruct our members to withhold coverage of police events, refuse participation in police press briefings, and suspend all forms of editorial engagement involving the police. This is not a threat, and I want to reiterate that, Mr. IGP and your men in uniform, this is not a threat. It is a necessary action to defend the dignity and safety of every Ghanaian journalist, and we shall do that. A major worrying trend happening now is the usage of our security agencies in causing harm and meting out brutalities to journalists. So we ask, are these frequent attacks on journalists under a precedent we can confidently and boldly say is our own? Because as we speak, the president is still a proud paid-up member of the Ghana Journalists Association, who shares in the pain and plight of journalists. I would like to take this opportunity to remind our esteemed member, the president, of how far we have come in our pursuit of press freedom, and any attempt to take us back will not be accepted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is becoming clearer by the day that politicians pay lip service to attacks and lip service to attacks and the safety of journalists. It is our prayer that we will not be pushed to the extent where we will be considering total media blackout in the country. Again, the military should understand that failure on their part to expose and sanction the said perpetrators of this crime will also have damning consequences, and we will embarrass them. If the military fail to expose the members, the officers, the soldiers in uniform behind these perpetrators, the CDS, the Chief of Army Staff, we are not just serving notice. We are not threatening. We have done our homework and we are prepared. If you fail to do so, we shall embarrass you. We will come out boldly and expose your men. Our general resolve: legal accountability. 1. Personal lawsuits. The GJA shall, through its legal team, file civil assault cases personally against officers who attack journalists. We shall not shield or allow state protection for individual misconduct. The perpetrators shall be sued in their personal capacity to bear full legal consequences. 2. Human rights petitions. We shall collaborate with human rights bodies locally and internationally to document and pursue justice for each assaulted journalist. Diplomatic sanctions. Engagement with embassies. Formal communication shall be sent to key embassies, including the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, France, and the European Union delegation in Ghana, urging them to: 1. Deny or revoke visas of identified security officers who have attacked journalists. 2. Consider such individuals as security risks and enemies of press freedom. For UN and international bodies, the GJA will write to the United Nations, UNESCO, the African Union, and ECOWAS to: 1. Deny all international postings, assignment, and peacekeeping opportunities to known violators of media rights. 2. Demand sanctions and blacklisting of such officers from serving in international missions. Administrative pressure. Petition to security councils. The GJA will petition the Ghana Armed Forces Council and the Police Council requesting that officers who attack journalists be disqualified from promotion and subjected to internal disciplinary proceedings.